what are the important topics regarding the vibration chapter? So, if I will talk about the vibration, so the questions they were framing based on the three vibration. The second one is the forced vibration. Forced vibration. So, in case of free vibration, so the questions they were asking to calculate the natural frequency. Okay, so they will give you the some kind of spring and block system. So you have to calculate the natural frequency. So if I will talk about the force vibration, the topics which are important, the first thing is damping ratio, question based on damping ratio. Second thing is magnification factor, magnification factor. And third one is transmissibility, transmissibility. Okay, so these are very important topics. So, but before coming to the how you will calculate the natural frequency and this damping ratio, so you have to understand there are some terminology. For example, what is damping ratio? That means what is the critical damping? What is damping? So I'm just going to give a quick overview of this vibration. So first of all, if I will talk about the vibration is nothing but any motion you can take, any motion that repeat itself, that repeat after the interval of time that is called as a vibration, is called vibration. For example, you can take swinging of pendulum. For example, swinging of just 1 second. Swinging of any motion that repeats after an interval of time is called vibration. So, for example, swinging of pendulum, swinging of the pendulum. Okay, so in case of pendulum, you know that there is a string which is attached. There is a one spherical ball which is attached with that. If you give an initial disturbance, then it will vibrate like this. Then it will vibrate like this. So that means if you are giving the initial disturbance, then after that, if you are removing the force, that is called as a free vibration and also known as a natural vibration. So that means the vibration basically classified into two categories. One is the free vibration, and the second one is the forced vibration, forced vibration. So this free vibration and the forced vibration can be a undamped vibration or damped vibration that I will discuss later on. But first of all, you understood what do you mean by free vibration? Free vibration means any vibration those vibration in which there is no external force, after giving an initial disturbance to the body. What it means? For example, you can take the what we called as a free vibration, that is nothing but the swinging of pendulum. But for initial disturbance, you have to apply some force. Then that force is not acting during the vibration, that is called as a free vibration. If the vibration in which the external force is acting during the complete vibration, that is called as a forced vibration. That means if there is no external force you are applying except from the initial disturbance, then it is called as a free. Force means when the force is acting during the vibration. Okay. Now the next thing is these free vibration and these forced vibration can be a damped vibration or then the undamped vibration. It may be a damped vibration or it may be a undamped vibration. Okay, so what do we mean by damped and undamped? So damped vibration means what is damped vibration? Damped vibration means if the energy is lost, if the energy is lost during the vibration, then it is called as a damping or damped vibration. Then what about the undamped vibration? Undamped vibration is nothing but undamped vibration is nothing but if energy is lost, it is called as a damped vibration. If energy is no, if energy, or I can write if no energy is lost during the oscillation, during the oscillation, during the oscillation, then the vibration is called as an undamped vibration. Okay, that means in case of undamped vibration, the amplitude will be constant. But in case of damped vibration, if the energy is lost, means after some instant of time, that means the amplitude of the vibration will become zero. Okay. Now, there are some other important thing. The first one is degree of freedom. Degree of freedom. What do you mean by degree of freedom? That means how many number of coordinates are required to define the vibration system. For example, if I am taking as a spring and the mass block system, so if you are giving the initial displacement x, let us suppose the displacement in the x direction is x, then it is called as a single degree of freedom system. Single degree of freedom system. That means if you see here, there is a x displacement you are giving to the this block of having mass m, whatever it is. That means only one coordinate is required to define the or describe this vibration system. For example, one more. Let us suppose there is a string. At the end of a string, one sphere which is attached and it is swinging about this mean position. This is mean position. So let us suppose after some instant of time, this sphere will be at here. So that means the angle theta is defining their position. So degree of freedom means the number of independent coordinate system, independent coordinate system, or the independent coordinate which is required to describe a vibration system, to describe a vibration system, then it is called as a degree of freedom. So if I will talk about the two degree of freedom, let us suppose if one more string I am attaching, okay, one more string I am attaching. Now there will be a theta. For example, here will be a theta. So there will be theta 2. This is theta 1 and theta 2. That means two angles are required. That is called as a two degree of freedom. Most of the question they were framing based on the single degree of freedom system. But how they are asking the question based on single degree of freedom system? So they can ask you the question based on the spring block or spring and mass system. So there are some methods for solving this kind of problem. The first one is the force method and the second one is the energy method. Okay, I have told you this is basically a free vibration. That's why I have mentioned natural undamped single degree of freedom vibration. Natural means There, once you are applying the forces, that is the initial disturbance, that force will not act. Undamped means the energy will not lost during this complete vibration. So that means you can use the conservation of energy also. Okay, so the conservation of energy only applicable in undamped vibration. So I'm discussing both the methods. So let us suppose I'm just taking first case. There is a spring. At the end of a spring, there is a mass. There is a block of having a mass which is attached. Now you are giving an initial disturbance. Let us suppose with the application of this force. And that initial disturbance is nothing but x. What will happen? This block will move from this position to this position. Okay. And if the block is moving, can I say that the spring is elongating? That means the spring will also exert some restoring force that is called as a spring force, which always act opposite to the direction of motion. So, for example, if I will draw the free body diagram of this block, so this is the motion of this block. Now, what kind of force will act over this block? Kx, where k is the spring constant and x will be the how much disturbance you are giving or the displacement of this system. So let x will be the displacement of system. X will be the displacement of system. So can I write what is x dot? X dot is nothing but dx by dt. This is nothing but the velocity. Can I write x double dot? X double dot is nothing but double differentiation. So d2 square. So d2x divided by dt square, that is nothing but the acceleration. Okay. Now I can represent this acceleration in terms of x double dot. So if you are giving the motion to this block m, the spring force which is acting in the opposite direction. So can I use the Newton's second law? The net force is equal to mass into acceleration. What is the force which is acting? Minus of kx. And this force is acting opposite to the motion. That's why I have considered minus kx, which is equal to net acceleration, the net force, which is mass into acceleration. So can I write this acceleration as x double dot? So this mx double dot plus kx is equal to 0. So the x double dot can be written as k by m, x is equal to 0. What it means? I can write this equation in terms of differential form, d square x by dt square plus k by m into x is equal to 0. And this is the equation of SHM. Okay, so where this particular thing is basically indicating omega n square. Okay, so this is basically x double dot omega n square into x. Whatever this coefficient is coming, that will be equal to omega n square. That is the basic general equation of SHM. So if I will write down the natural frequency, what natural frequency we are getting? Root of k by n. And this is the natural frequency of spring and the mass block system. Okay. Now, the natural frequency you got as a k by m, where k is the spring constant and m is the mass of the block. Now, if I want to apply the energy conservation of this particular thing, what I will do? The method second, I can use the conservation of energy, because this is the undamped case. Undamped means there is no loss of energy. So the energy will be constant. So according to law of conservation, according to law of conservation of energy, law of conservation of energy, you already know the total energy will be constant. Now, what are the energy which is stored on this system? The first of all, the energy will be stored on this spring as well as the mass. Energy is stored on the spring as well as the mass. Only the two system are there. Two components are there. So energy of mass, can I write energy of mass plus energy stored in the spring? Stored in the spring is constant. What is the energy of mass? So if this block is moving with, if you are giving the initial displacement x, so can I say that means it is moving with some certain velocity? So if it is moving with certain velocity, so that means the kinetic energy will be half mv square. And energy stored in the spring, you already know, half of kx square, which is equal to constant. which is equal to constant. So that means this v square I can write x dot square. Yes or no? Because x is the displacement, x dot is the velocity, and x double dot is the acceleration. So I can write this v square is nothing but x dot square half of kx square is equal to constant. That means if I will differentiate this particular energy, that will be equal to 0 only, because differentiation of constant will be 0. So let me differentiate. This is nothing but 2m. Okay, so this 2 denominator will become 0 only if you differentiate. So 2m, what is this value? Otherwise, you can write this mx dot square plus kx square is equal to constant only. Initially, you have the constant. If you multiply the 2 also, that is also a constant. For example, if this is 4 values, so 2 into 4 is also constant. That doesn't matter. Now, mx dot square plus kx square, you got that mx dot square plus kx square is equal to constant. So if I will differentiate with respect to time, what I will get? So m 2x dot. Okay, so you have to use the chain rule. First of all, you will differentiate this 2x dot. Then x dot is also varying with the time. So this will become x dot plus 2kx. Then again, the x differentiation is x dot, which will be equal to 0. So from here, you can easily write 2x dot is nothing but mx double dot plus kx is equal to 0. So that means mx double dot plus kx is equal to 0. Again, you got the same equation, which is nothing but d square x by dt square plus k by m. I'm just taking the m in the denominator. X is equal to 0, where this k by m is nothing but the omega square, or I can write omega is equal to root of k by m. So this is one of the most important formula for calculating the natural frequency. You know the mass, you have to calculate the k value. Okay, k value means the spring constant. If the two springs are connected in series and parallel, you know that how do you calculate. Okay, I will discuss that one also. If the springs are
Sir,
connected in series.
uh,
Yeah, Jib.
um, can you please explain how increasing the stiffness would increase the angular frequency? It should physically decrease the angular frequency, right?
So you can see here, no? Omega is equal to root of
Okay,
k by m. Okay, so the
okay,
spring constant, if you increase, then definitely it will affect. So based on the what we can say that is the either the spring are connected in series. Once you will get the k value, then you can change that.
okay.
Okay. So this is the differential equation you got. This is the differential equation you got, and you know the natural frequency. Okay. Now, sometimes they will ask the 1 marks problem, which is a very basic problem. That means how you will calculate the amplitude of the vibration, how you will calculate the natural frequency or some frequency. So I just want to take those points also. So let us suppose this equation is nothing but, let me take in the next slide. Let me take. Now this equation, can I write d square plus omega square into x? You already know in the maths also there is a differential equation form. Okay, if this is 0, that means only complementary function will be there. If this is some value, that means there will be a particular integral, because the solution of the differential equation is complementary function plus particular integral. How this particular integral will come? It will come in the forced vibration, because you know that in case of forced vibration there will be some term. That means you have to apply some forces. In this case, there is no force. That's why this is a natural vibration. If there is a force, then it is called as a forced vibration. Okay, so this is the equation, and you know that how you will get the solution. So whenever this is the case, so the solution of this differential equation is sine omega t c1 and c2 cos of omega t. Okay, then c1 and c2, let us suppose this is the c2 and this is c1. I just want to write down the equation in generalized form. So let us suppose this is phi as the phase angle. So what is this value? C1 square plus C2 square. So what I'm doing, I'm just dividing this and multiplying their hypotenuse value. Suppose if I will write down the final equation, you already know. So I'm just discussing how that result came. So C1 square plus C2 square. So C1 sine omega t plus C2 cos omega t is nothing but, can I write this C1 divided by this value? What is this value? C1 divided by, that means this divided by this. Can I write this is cos phi? So sine omega t cos of phi, and this value is C1 square plus C2 square. Similarly, C2 divided by this. So C2 divided by this means if you take the sine component, sine of phi is nothing but perpendicular divided by hypotenuse. Okay, so I can write cos of or sine phi cos of omega t. So sine A cos B plus cos A sine B is nothing but sine A plus B. So I can write simply as sine omega t plus. And this is nothing but the first term is the amplitude. Okay, and this is the equation. This is the equation. This is the generalized equation in which the first term is indicating the amplitude, and this is nothing but the phase angle, and this is nothing but the natural frequency. Okay, why I have discussed this? Because sometimes they are giving the equation, then you have to calculate the value of natural frequency or some frequency. Okay, so where A is nothing but, if I will write down the equation, is A sine omega t plus phi is nothing but, where A is the amplitude, A is the amplitude, and omega is the natural frequency, and phi is the phase angle, and x is the displacement. X is the displacement. And I have discussed one more formula, which is nothing but the natural frequency is root of k by n. Okay. Based on this, I will discuss some problem, but there are some important term related to this equation. Let me discuss that. Then we will directly move to the question. So this is basically the natural frequency, which is nothing but, sometimes it is also angular frequency omega. Angular frequency is d theta by dt, first part. Second is, they can ask you what will be the time period. How you will calculate the time period? The time period is nothing but 2 pi by omega. That means how much time it is taking to complete one cycle. That is nothing but the time period. So once you know the omega value from this equation, that means you can calculate the time, 2 pi by omega. Once you know the time, you can calculate the frequency also. Frequency is nothing but the reciprocal of time. Okay, so these are the three important terminology. So frequency is nothing but 1 by time, means how many number of oscillation you can do in 1 second. Okay, so based on that, let me discuss one problem. So this is, let us suppose, equation of displacement is given, a particle of mass 2 kg which is doing a SHM, and the equation is 20 sine pi by 2 t plus pi by 3. This is basically the equation is given. You have to calculate all these parameters. Okay, so I have summarized all these in the single problem, how you will calculate the amplitude, and first of all, how you will see what is the amplitude, what is the natural frequency, and all. So what is this value? You know that if you compare with the generalized equation, can I write this? A sine omega t, A sine omega t plus phi. So amplitude, can I write? What is the value? 20. What is the phase angle? What is the phase angle here? What is the phase angle? Very simple. Phase angle is nothing but pi by 3. Just compare with this generalized equation. What is the natural frequency or the angular frequency? Is pi by 2, which is nothing but this omega t. How you will calculate the time period? Time period is nothing but 2 pi by omega. You already know the omega value, pi by 2. So can I write 2 pi divided by pi by 2 is nothing but the 4 second. If you know the time period, so take the reciprocal 1 by 4, you will get the frequency, and the unit of frequency is in hertz, 0.25. So suppose if you want to calculate the spring constant, you know the formula is spring constant, root of, okay, the spring constant you want to calculate, but you know the natural frequency is nothing but k by m, or the angular frequency you can say. So The K value, if you want to calculate, can I write omega square into M? So omega square, you already know. What is the omega square? Pi by 2 whole square. Mass is given as 2 kg. So if you solve, then it will become pi square. And this is 4, so pi square by 2 Newton per meter. Because you know that the spring constant unit is, because force is equal to kx, this is Newton. So if you divide with this here, you will get this. So these basic question they can frame, but if this question is coming from this, they will ask only 1 marks. Okay. Now the next thing is, for example, if the springs are connected in series and then they want to spring are series or parallel, that means the spring combination, if they want to know what will be the natural frequency, how you will calculate that one. That is the important thing. So before that, I just want to quickly revise. When the springs are connected in series, what will be the equivalent spring constant? Very simple. If the springs are connected in series, means the total displacement of the spring is x1 plus x2. Can I write? The total displacement is x1 plus x2. So x is nothing but the force divided by, let us suppose, K equivalent I want to calculate. That means the equivalent spring constant for this combination of the spring. So force by K equivalent, and this value is F divided by K1, F divided by K2. Because you know that each and every spring is connected with the force F only. So from here, you got one result, and you know from your 11th standard, when the springs are connected in series, what will be the equivalent spring constant? 1 by K1 plus 1 by K2. Similarly, when the springs are connected in parallel, so the whatever the load which you are applying, that will be distributed on these two springs, which is nothing but W can be written as W1 plus W2. And you know that W can be written as K equivalent into X. That means force is nothing but Kx. Similarly for this one, K1 into X plus K2 into X. Because once you are applying the load, the displacement of this block will be same. Okay, this block will move here. That means the displacement of this spring, when the springs are connected in series, the displacement will be same only. So you got the equilibrium stiffness is nothing but K1 plus K2. That means two more important formula which we got. When the springs are connected in series, then you have to use this 1 by K1 plus 1 by K2. When the springs are connected in parallel, this is the spring stiffness. Okay, so based on that, I have framed one question. Can you please solve? A mass of 1 kg is suspended by means of 3 spring. Okay, K1 plus K2, K1, K2 and K3 are 1 kilonewton, 3 kilonewton per meter and 2 kilonewton per meter. You have to calculate the natural frequency. Okay, so one extra term I have added. You have to calculate the natural frequency. How you will calculate natural frequency? Because you know that the natural frequency is nothing but the K equivalent divided by M. K equivalent divided by M. If the K equivalent divided by M, once you know the K equivalent, your problem is solved. So that means they only want to know how you will calculate the K equivalent. Can you tell me the K1 and K2 are connected in series or parallel? So, or just tell me which springs are connected in series and which are connected in parallel.
So here K1 and K2 are in series, and K3 is in parallel.
Very good. So K1 and K2 are in series, and that equivalent is connected with the third spring in the parallel. Very good. So
Yes,
how
sir.
you will calculate this? Yeah, just mute yourself, Raj. Okay, so the
Okay,
K
sir.
equivalent you can easily calculate 1 by, let us suppose I am just denoting with the K dash, K1 and K2 are in series. So can I write 1 by K1 plus 1 by K2? So K dash, can I write K1 K2 divided by K1 plus K2? Okay, so please remember this one also. If you are remembering this, then there is no issue. But sometimes if the two springs are connected in series, directly you can use product of this and sum of the two springs. So K1 K2 is nothing but 1 and 3. So this will become 3 divided by 4. Okay, and this 3 by 4, that means K dash, now it will become parallel with the K3. Okay, that means how you will calculate the K equivalent? K dash plus K3, very simple, because they are connected in parallel. So parallel combination, you already know. The parallel combination, you already know how to get the equivalent stiffness. So this is 3 by 4. K3 value is, what is the value of K3? So this is nothing but 11 by 4, which is 2.75. So once you know the 2.75, and this is in kilonewton per meter, so the K equivalent I got as a 2750 divided by what is the mass? 1 only. So once you will solve, then you will get 52.44 radian per second. Okay. So that means they can give you the any combination of springs. You already know how to calculate the equivalent stiffness. Now, the most important thing is, suppose if any combination of the spring as well as the rod or something, how you will solve these kind of. So till now I am discussing only the free vibration only. That means there is no damper I have installed. Once the damper will come into the picture, then we will see how you will solve that. Okay. So let us suppose the spring mass system I have taken. And just I'm summarizing. Let us suppose this is the block. Now it is moving in this direction. So what are the forces which is acting? One is the spring force, which is kx in the opposite direction. So you know that minus of kx is equal to mx double dot can be written as x double dot plus k by m. X is equal to 0. This is the first equation. This is the first equation. Okay. When you are giving the initial displacement, the spring force will act in the opposite direction. You know that the net force is equal to mass into acceleration, and you got the equation, this x double dot plus k by m, x is equal to 0. This is the equation of SHM, and that k by m is nothing but omega n square. Now, if the same block, if I will kept in the vertical, then how you will calculate? So let us suppose this is the spring. Now, if the spring has there is no block which is attached, so this is the natural length of a spring. Once you will attach one block of mass m, what will happen? Then there will be a static deflection. That means because of this weight of this mass, this spring will deflect a little bit more. That I am taking as a delta S. Okay, spring deflection or the static deflection. Now, the vibration told that vibration is nothing but when you are giving the initial displacement. So now I am applying some forces, and that displacement is nothing but the x, the additional displacement which I have given in the x. Because if you see this mg and this k delta s is balanced, yes or no? For a static equilibrium condition, k delta s is equal to mg. So can I write m by k is equal to delta by g? M by k is nothing but the deflection divided by the g. So sometimes the natural frequency can also be calculated by deflection divided by g only. But what I am trying to say here, let us suppose if the block of mass m which is attached, it undergoes the static deflection delta s. So during the equilibrium position, this mg will balancing this one. Mg is balancing this one. That means once you will get the equation, then there is no role of this mg. How? Let me explain. Let us suppose, apart from this static deflection, you have given the initial displacement. So what is the total deflection? X plus delta S. So the spring force will act as a K into net deflection, which is nothing but X plus delta S. Motion is in the downward direction. So can I write mg minus kx plus delta S is equal to mass into acceleration? So now I will write in terms of x double dot. Okay. So this will cancel out. So can I write this mg minus kx? This delta s is nothing but k delta s is nothing but, you can see here, k delta s is the mg only for a static deflection. So minus mg is equal to mx double dot. So this will be cancel out. So again you got the same equation. Mx double dot plus kx is equal to 0. That means x double dot is nothing but k by m into x is equal to 0. So I can write the natural frequency, again you are getting the root of k by m. That means if you are attaching that block in the horizontal direction or in the vertical direction, you will get the same natural frequency. That means in the natural vibration, we are only considering the main point is we are only considering the restoring force. So what is the restoring force? The restoring force is nothing but after the initial displacement, k into x, k into x. So let me discuss one more little bit conceptual problem. So this is basically the two spring which is attached with this particular, what we can say, that rod, okay, of length L. So a uniform rod of length L, mass M, is pivoted at this particular hinge joint. At the center, its two ends are attached to the two spring of the spring constant K. The spring are fixed to rigid support. These both are fixed as shown in figure, and the rod is free to oscillate. Okay, so the rod is free to oscillate. The rod is, once you are pushing the rod in this direction for a small angle theta, and once you will release, what this rod will do? It will oscillate. And that is the meaning of natural vibration. No? You are giving some initial displacement, then the rod will oscillate like this, oscillate like this. Okay, so you have to calculate what will be the frequency of oscillation. How you will do? So I have discussed the first is nothing but you can use the what we call as a force. Now, let us suppose the initial position of this rod is here. This is the spring. Now, if you have given the initial displacement x here, so what is the restoring force will act in this direction? Kx, opposite to the motion. So if this spring is elongated here, can I say this spring is elongated here means the spring force will act in the opposite direction, Kx. And this total distance is L, or we can say that this is L by 2. And this initial displacement, or sorry, initial angular displacement which you have given as a theta. So can I write this distance is L by 2 cos theta? And this distance is also L by 2 cos theta. Okay. That means now you can directly use the net torque is equal to I into alpha. The net torque means the net torque, I is the moment of inertia of rod. I hope you know these basic things. What is the moment of inertia of rod, about the center and all. Okay. Alpha is the angular acceleration. What you have done, you have given the initial displacement theta. If theta you are giving, if you differentiate, what you will get? Angular velocity. If you differentiate, what you will get? Angular acceleration. In the similar manner, I have discussed, there is a linear displacement is x. If you differentiate, what you will get? Velocity. If you differentiate again, you will get the linear acceleration. Okay, but this rod is in the angular motion. If the rod is angular motion, so the torque value will be equal to I into L, because the force is nothing but mass into acceleration. So if you multiply with this r, then you will get the torque. Yes or no? So in case of angular motion, whatever the mass is doing in the linear motion, the moment of inertia will come into the picture. So if you multiply into r here, okay, so that is nothing but the alpha. That means the force equation you have converted into the torque. And I hope you know these things. Torque is equal to I alpha. Now the best thing is how you will calculate the net torque. The net torque, this is basically rotating about this hinge joint. So what are the forces which basically creating a torque? So one is this force kx. What is the distance? L by 2 cos theta. Yes. Similarly, this force is also creating a torque in this direction. Force into perpendicular distance, torque in this direction. Force into perpendicular distance, torque in this direction. Okay. Now, if you have given the initial displacement here in this direction, which is I alpha, can I write this alpha is equal to theta double dot? Very simple. X is the linear. In this case, it will be theta. If it is x dot, here will be omega. Here is x double dot, here will be alpha. So I am writing alpha is nothing but the x double dot, or I can write this is nothing but theta dot and theta double dot. So I into theta double dot is the angular acceleration. Net torque is nothing but kx, which is minus kx into L by 2 cos of theta. Minus kx into L by 2 cos of theta is equal to I into theta double dot. Same thing. So you are giving the initial displacement. That means torque is acting here. So net torque is equal to I into alpha, the motion in this direction. But these forces are creating the torque in this opposite direction. That's why I have taken a minus sign. For example, if you see the previous case also, there is a spring, there is a mass block. You are giving the motion in this direction, but the spring force is acting here. That's why I have taken minus of kx. The net force is equal to mass into acceleration. So the net torque, which is equal to I into alpha. Now I can simply write sine theta. Can I write sine theta is equal to x by L by 2? No problem, because we have given the x as the displacement. So this is L by 2. So, sorry, this is L by 2. So this x perpendicular by hypotenuse is nothing but sine theta. So x is nothing but L by 2 theta. Why? Because this angular displacement which you are giving is very small. You are just applying an initial, what we call as a initial disturbance you are giving, that theta is very, very small. So sine theta is approximately theta only. So if you differentiate this, what you will get? X dot I can write as a L by 2 theta dot, and x double dot I can write L by 2 theta double. Okay. Now the x, now I'm converting in the same format, kx L by 2. What is, when the theta is very small means, when theta is very small means sine theta can be approximately theta. So theta is very small means approximately 0. So what is the cos theta value? 1 only. So minus kx L by 2 is equal to I into theta double. Okay, what is this value? Minus of kx L by 2 plus L by 2 will become L, and this I theta double dot. Now the most important thing is, what is the moment of inertia of rod? The moment of inertia of rod, I hope you know this thing. The moment of inertia of rod about the center is nothing but ml square by 12. ml square by 12, where L is the length of the rod and m is the mass of the rod. Okay, so ml square by 12 theta double dot minus k. What is the x value? X is nothing but L by 2 theta. That means L square by 2 into theta. So this L square and this L square will cancel out. So you will get the equation which is nothing but m by 12 theta double dot is equal to minus k theta divided by 2. Okay, so let me take now this, can I write theta double dot is equal to nothing but minus 6k by m into theta. So the theta double dot plus 6k by m, theta is equal to 0, which is nothing but, if you compare the equation of motion of SHM, again you will get theta double dot, whatever this term is there, that is nothing but the omega n square into theta is equal to 0. So what is omega n here? Omega n is nothing but root of 6k by m. Once you know the natural frequency omega, so what is this? If this is the omega, angular one, so if you want to calculate the frequency also, which is nothing but omega by 2 pi. That means the most important thing is how you will reach at this point. So you know this equation, whatever the coefficient term is coming, that will be equal to omega n. For example, if I want to write down the in terms of linear, then it will become x double dot plus some value, let us suppose omega n square theta into x is equal to 0. So what is the x double dot? You know that in terms of angular, theta double dot, here is the x, here will be theta. The most important thing is whatever the coefficient is there, that is nothing but the omega n square. So once you solve the equation and whatever the coefficient you got of this theta, then you have to equate with the natural frequency. So if this is a numerical type question, they will give you the k value and m, then you can easily calculate the natural frequency. Okay. Again, I am discussing what I have done. I have just given the initial displacement x. So the key spring force will be acting in the backward direction kx. So this spring is elongating. That means the spring force will be kx. So I have taken the moment about this point. That means torque about this point, which is I alpha. Once you equate, then you will get the generalized equation. Compare with the equation of this equation. That is nothing but the equation of SHM, omega square into theta 0. So you know that whatever the coefficient is there, that is equal to omega, then you will get the value of natural frequency. And this is a beautiful problem which I have discussed now. So similar different type of problem, let us suppose uniform stiff rod of length, okay, 300 mm and having a weight of 300 Newton. Okay, so this rod having a weight, let us suppose 300 Newton, is pivoted at one end and connected to a spring at the another end. So one end is connected, that is having a hinge joint, and another end is basically having a spring. Okay, so what you have to calculate for keeping the rod vertical in a stable position, the minimum value of spring constant. What will be the value of K so that it will be in the stable position? That means rod will be vertical. That you have to calculate. You know that for any vibration problem, what you will do, first of all, you will give the initial displacement. So let us suppose if you are giving the initial displacement to the rod this in this direction. So what is the rod position? The rod position will be like this. So if the rod position is like this, can I say this spring will compress? If the spring is compressing, where the spring force will act? The spring is compressing. Can you tell me where the spring force will act? Rightward or leftward? Jagan?
Sir, it will be leftward in case of compression.
Right. That means
Because anyway, after we release this rod with some weight, sir, and we means after pushing the rod towards the right, the spring force, the spring will
spring
then
force
sir,
will
try
spring
to
will try to apply the force in the left direction. That is called as the restoring case. Okay. So if you
yes sir
understood
to
this, yes, if you understood this thing, then the problem is very simple. You have only have to use the geometry. Okay. So now let us suppose the initial position. This is O point. So let us suppose this is the final position of this rod. Final position of this rod. Final position of this rod. So if you have given the displacement in this direction is x. Okay. Now, what is the spring force will act? So the spring force, let us suppose the acting k into x, whatever the displacement you have given. And this distance you already know. This is nothing but, let me take the same figure in the next slide. So this is nothing but the 0.15 meter. What is this distance? 0.15 meter only. Now here the mg force will act, which is nothing but 300 Newton, which is given in the question. Now, if you take the moment about this point, your problem is solved because you know this is the one force, the perpendicular distance. Okay. Whatever the restoring force is acting, that will try to maintain the rod in the vertical direction. So if you take the moment about this point, this force into this perpendicular distance, and this mg is trying to rotate this rod in this direction. Okay, but the restoring force kx will try to rotate so that the rod will be in the equilibrium position. So if you take the moment point about this, so one force you know already, this is the distance, but this force is no, but how you will calculate this particular distance? And that is the most important part. You have to use the geometry. You have to use the geometry. So from the similar property, the property of similar triangle, if you see here, this is basically a triangle. If this is the displacement x, what is this displacement? Can you please tell me? So can I write 0.15 on the small, this one, let us suppose this is x dash. So 0.15 divided by x dash. So can I write 0.3 divided by x? For this complete angle, this is basically the length. Okay. And this is nothing but the perpendicular. So perpendicular by base is nothing but the tan theta, because theta will be constant for this triangle and this triangle. So if you equate the tan theta on both the triangles, you will get this one. So that means I will get as x dash is nothing but x by 2. X dash is nothing but x by 2. So that means the displacement at this center point is x dash. Once you know the x dash, then problem is solved. So what you will do, you will take the moment at point O, take the moment at point O. If you take the moment point O means k into x into 0.3, that means this force into perpendicular distance, this force into perpendicular distance, and this force into this distance, which is equal to 300 into x by 2, because x dash value is x by 2. So I will get the k value is nothing but 150 divided by 0.3, which is nothing but 500 Newton per meter. And that was the question. You have to calculate the spring constant. Okay. So that means in case of free vibration, they will frame the question based on how you will calculate the natural frequency. Okay. And the question can be framed based on this important relation, that is the equation of SHN. They can ask you what is the amplitude, what is the angular frequency. Now, if I will introduce one more term, that is called as a damped vibration. That means now I am talking about the damping. So till now I have not discussed about the damping force. So if I will introduce one damping force, that means one damper is attached. So let us suppose, in case this vibrating system, along with this mass m, I have attached one more element that is called as a damper. So damper is basically, it will store the energy. Okay, it will reduce the vibration. So this basically represented in terms of in this form. This is basically, you can see there is a fluid and there is a what we called as a piston and cylinder arrangement. Okay. Now, if you are giving the extra displacement to this one, what will happen? The spring will elongate. That means the block of mass m is moving in this one. So the piston will also compress. So if piston is moving in this direction, then you can see there will be a damping force will act, which is nothing but the c into velocity. That means the velocity of this piston. Okay, c is called as a damping constant. X dot is the velocity. So if you are giving the motion to this mass m, that is nothing but m into x double dot net force is equal to mass into acceleration. Mass into acceleration is nothing but x double dot. How many forces are acting? One is kx, another is the damping force. If you see in the previous case, I have not introduced any kind of damper. That's why this value is 0. Okay, that means now you can see in this case, the damper is also there. Sometimes you can assume this damper will be attached here, or you can assume there is a spring and there will be a damper like that. Now you are giving the initial displacement. Now you have to calculate what will be the unknown parameter. That means how you will calculate the damping ratio, how you will calculate the critical damping constant, and some natural. Okay. But in case of damper, what you will do? Again, you have to use the same method. That means first of all, you will draw the free body diagram of this block mass m. Okay, so in this particular case, you cannot apply the energy method, because you know that their energy will be lost. In case of damping, the vibration, the energy will be lost. The energy will be maybe lost due to the heat or heat, we can say that, or we can say that the friction. So energy you cannot conserve whenever there is a damper. So the only thing is, you just write down the equation. That means net force is equal to mass into acceleration. That will be applicable everywhere. So can you please tell me what are the forces acting? The first is the spring force and another is the damping force. So now I am writing kx net force is nothing but minus kx. What is this net? The damping force, c into x dot, is equal to mass into x double dot. So m into x double dot plus kx plus cx dot, or if I want to write in a more generalized term, so cx dot plus kx is equal to 0, and this is the equation of spring mass damper system. Okay, where m is the mass, k is the spring constant, c is the damping constant. You already know. Now this is also a differential equation. Once you will solve, you will get some root of the differential equation, and you know that how you will calculate. You just divide this mass here. So let us suppose you got the equation as mx double dot plus cx dot plus kx is equal to 0. So can I write m? So just divide this m here. So it will become d square plus c by m d plus k by m into x is equal to 0. What is d here? D is nothing but d square by dt square, d square by dt square. So this equation, this is nothing but the generalized second order differential equation. You know how to get the root. This is basically there is no what we call as a external force. So this you have to, the solution of this differential equation is only complementary function. Okay, so I'm not discussing how you will get that value, because I just want to tell these are the results which I have already discussed in my live class. Now how you will implement those results for solving the problem, and what are the important terminology related to that. Okay, so if you solve the differential equation, you will get the roots. Let us suppose alpha 1 and alpha 2, c minus c by 2m, c by 2m whole square minus k by m, minus k by m whole square. Very simple. If you want, you can also do. So this is nothing but this is a quadratic equation, you can say. What is the root? Minus b by minus b plus minus under root of b square minus 4ac divided by 2a. A is 1 here. So minus c by m divided by 2 is nothing but minus c by 2m. So the positive value for alpha 1 and negative value for alpha 2. Okay, so this is basic thing, but there is some important thing you have to understand. If this value is greater than this one, that means the roots are real and equal. Sorry, when this discriminant value is 0, that means c by 2m is equal to k by m, then it is called as a real and equal root. When it is greater than, then real and distinct root. When it is less than, that means this value is less than this one, so you will get a negative value in this square root, that means the imaginary root. Okay, so based on that, one constant I will define, that is called as a damping constant. How you will get this damping constant? If you know the natural frequency. Okay, so for example, let us suppose case number 1. If c by 2m whole square is equal to k by m, is equal to k by m. Sorry, here is not square because minus 4ac. So k by m, this is for real in equal root. Can I write this is c square 4m square k by m, which is nothing but c square 4km, or c can be written as 2 root of km, and this is very important result. This is very important result. I will make 4 star. Please remember how you will get the damping constant. The damping constant is nothing but 2 square root of k into m, where the k is called as a stiffness or the spring constant, and m is nothing but the mass. In any problem, in any damped vibration problem, if they have given this particular 2 value, k and m, you can easily calculate the damping constant, and based on that, they are framing the question. Okay. Now, suppose if I want to modify this relation in terms of other thing, can I write this relation? Just 1 second. The C you got as a damping constant, which is nothing but 2, what is this value? 2 root of km. 2 root of km. Okay, you know the natural frequency is root of k by m. Root of k by m. So can I write this? If I will take m outside, so it will become k by m. So what I have done, I have just multiply with the m and divide with the m. So m square will nothing but it will come outside, and k by m is this one. Why? Because to get in terms of omega n. So C also can be written as 2m omega n. That means either you can write in terms of 2 root km or 2m omega n, because the first step is you have to calculate the natural frequency. Once you have the natural frequency, just multiply the 2 and mass, you will get the damping constant. But if there is no question related to the natural frequency and the spring constant mass is given, you can directly use this one. So both are correct, only I just converted the root km is nothing but in terms of omega n. Okay, once I will discuss the problem, then you will appreciate. So the damping constant value which you got as a 2 square root of km. So based on that, one more term is there which is called as a damping ratio. So let me check. Yes. So just to save our time, because I just want to discuss some of the problem, because the application is important. So damping ratio is nothing but for any damped system, for any damping system, the ratio of damping constant, which I have already defined. What is this damping constant? okay, 2 root of Km, is the ratio of the damping constant to the critical damping constant is known as a damping ratio. And the damping ratio basically denoted with G. This is nothing but zeta. It is also called as a damping factor. So please make a note of this. Don't do the mistake. Damping ratio and the damping factor both are same only. It is the ratio of damping constant, which is C, to the critical damping constant. I am just denoting with Cc. Okay, so C by M is equal to 2 zeta omega n. You already know from here. Okay, so if I will write C by M, just 1 second. So C by, what is this Cc? 2m into omega n, you already know. So can I write C by M is equal to 2 zeta omega n? 2 zeta omega n. That means this is the differential equation which I have discussed previously. So instead of C by M, if you see here, C by M, if I will put this 2 zeta omega n here, then I will get again the two roots of the equation. Based on that, I will again define the critical damping, over damping, and under damping. And these three are important parameters. So what I have discussed, the damping constant value you can calculate 2 root of k by m, 2 root of km, or I can write in terms of omega n, 2m omega n. Okay, so these two important formula. The next terminology I have discussed, the damping ratio, which is defined as the ratio of C by Cc. Okay, so sometimes the damping ratio or the damping factor they are asking, they are giving, you have to calculate the Cc value. So if C by m and this omega n is given, you can calculate the zeta, because zeta is nothing but C 2m into omega n. Okay, so if these values are given, you can calculate the natural frequency. For example, if I'm giving you the k and m and the C value. Now I want to know the value of zeta. How you will calculate? The C value is already given, m value is given. Now you know that natural frequency formula is root of k by m. So that means if you remember this relation, you can easily solve the question based on damping ratio zeta. Okay. Now, what I have discussed, the C by M, which you got as a 2 zeta omega n, then again, this is the differential equation. Once you will solve, then you will get the 2 root, which is nothing but lambda 1 and lambda 2. So again, you have to use the minus b by 2a root of b square minus 4ac. So the main thing is, if zeta is greater than 1, or zeta can be equal to 1. So if zeta is equal to 1, then that is called as a critical damping. Then it is called as a critical damping. If zeta is equal to 1, then it is called as a critical damping for real and equal root. That means if zeta, that discriminant value is 0 or zeta square is equal to 1, then it is called as a critical damping. Then another possibility is if zeta is greater than 1, then it is called as a over damping. Over damping. If zeta is less than 1, then it is called as a under damping. So these three are important case. Zeta is equal to 1, critical damping. Zeta is greater than 1, over damping. And zeta is less than 1 is nothing but the under damping. Now, so till now I have discussed the two important formula, which is nothing but the damping constant, which is equal to you can write this formula, because once I will discuss the problem, then you have to use these relations. So one is the 2 square root of km. The second you can also write in terms of omega n. So 2m omega n. The second I have discussed for the zeta. Zeta is nothing but the C by Cc. So C by Cc. And this, once you have written in other format, so you got C by m. Because what I have done, I have just kept the value of this value. So C by m 2 zeta omega n. Can I write this? So C by m can be written as 2 zeta omega n. So whatever the unknown value is you want to find out, you can easily calculate. If the damping constant you want to find out, the omega and zeta value will be given. If you want to calculate zeta value, so they will give the C, K, and M value. And based on that, zeta is equal to 1, critical damping, over damping, and under damping. Okay. Now, there are some other important terminology. What is that? So in the case of, if you see, zeta is less than 1, the underdamping case, the zeta is less than 1, the underdamping case, what is the root? This is basically the root which you got, lambda 1 and 2, omega n minus zeta plus minus this value. Zeta is less than 1 means, that means the square root will be negative. That means there will be some imaginary part. There will be some imaginary part. So in case of underdamping, the equation which you got, the equation which you will get as a this one. The equation you will get x naught e to the power of minus zeta omega nt sine omega dt plus 5. Okay. So I have discussed in case of natural vibration, you got as x is equal to a sine omega t plus 5. Again, I'm repeating you, omega t plus 5. There will be natural frequency. Now you can see here, there is a damped frequency. Now, this is the phase angle. Zeta, you already know how you calculate. Omega n, you already know, that is root of k by m. If suppose x is equal to a sine omega dt plus 5 is given, so this amplitude is nothing but belongs to this one. Okay, how this results came, once you will solve that differential equation, you will get. I'm just summarizing what are the important terms. So the amplitude is x naught e to the power of minus zeta omega nt. How you will calculate the damped vibration frequency, which is root of 1 minus zeta square omega n. This is the natural frequency, root of k by m. And zeta value, once you know, that is the damped natural frequency. So omega is equal to 2 pi d. So if you want to calculate omega d, then it can be written as 2 pi td. So td value, that means the time period of damped vibration also you can calculate once you know the damped natural frequency. Okay, so now let me summarize all those results. Then we will move to the question part. So in case of underdamping, you know that zeta value is less than 1. And what is the equation of displacement? X naught e to the power of minus zeta omega nt and sine of omega dt plus 5. Okay. So the first relation, the amplitude from this equation, you can easily tell e to the power of minus zeta omega nt. Amplitude is this one. The second is how you will calculate the damped frequency, that is nothing but 1 minus zeta square, that is nothing but natural frequency. Third, once you know this, the time period also you can calculate 2 pi by omega d. So I'm not writing omega d because you know that once you will get some numerical value, you just put here, you will get the time period also. The fourth one is, I have already discussed the zeta value you can calculate by using the relation which I have discussed previously, 2, because zeta value is c by 2m into omega n, or you can also write c by m 2 zeta omega n. Okay, and c, if you want to calculate 2 square root of km, and also can be written as 2 omega 2m omega n. Okay. So these 5 formulas are very, very important for solving the problem. Okay. Once you write down, then I will move to the question, how you will calculate the damping constant, how you will calculate the damped natural frequency, or how you will calculate the damping constant or the damping. I hope you have taken the screenshot. No, just 1 second here. So the next thing is, let me discuss one more parameter, that is the logarithmic decrement. Then we will directly move to the problem. So you got the displacement equation is e to the power of minus zeta omega nt sine of omega dt plus phi. Okay. What is the amplitude here? Amplitude is nothing but x naught e to the power of minus zeta omega n into t. Okay. So this is the amplitude of the vibration. Okay. So at time t is equal to 0, so I'm just doing the analysis before coming to the final result. So at time t is equal to 0, can I write the amplitude is nothing but x naught. So at time t is equal to one time period, that is the one time period of damp vibration, which is nothing but the amplitude, how much you will get. Let us suppose one time period means the first one. So I'm denoting with the x1. I'm denoting with the x1. The next will be x2. Okay. So e to the power of x naught e to the power of minus zeta omega n td, because I have just kept t is equal to one time period, so this will become td x1. Similarly, I will move like this at time t is equal to, so let me take one more case so that it will be easy to understand the last one. So 2 td, so what is this? X2 is equal to x naught e to the power of minus zeta omega n 2 td. Yes. Now, if I want to write down the nth multiple of the, or we can say that after n cycle, what will be the amplitude? So xn can be written as, this will become x naught e to the power of minus zeta omega n into ntd. Okay, I have nothing I have done. I just changing the value of this time period in this first in the amplitude equation. Okay, to get the results of logarithmic decrement. Okay, so can I write that x naught by x1, if I want to write the x naught by x1, what is this x naught by x1? You just divide. So 1 by e to the power of minus zeta omega n td. Yes or no? Because x naught by x1 means, so this is nothing but x naught only. So x naught divided by x1 is nothing but, this will be cancelled out. You will get 1 by e to the power of minus zeta omega n td. Or I can write x naught by x1 is e to the power of zeta omega n td. Similarly, I can write x1 by x2. What is x1 by x2? E to the power of e to the power of zeta omega n td. How? This value x2 by x1 by x2 means this will be cancelled out. This will go in the positive. So 2 td minus 1 td will become td. Okay, that means the ratio of the first to the next amplitude is nothing but you are getting as a constant. E to the power of zeta omega n td. Suppose if you will do the x2 by x3, again you will get this one. So if I want to write the x1 value, if you cross multiply this x0 by x1 and this one, so what you will get? X1 can be written as x0 into x2. Yes or no? This x1, what I have done, I just cross multiplying these two. So x0 by x1, because these values are equal, so can I write x0 by x1 is equal to x1 by x2? So x1 square is nothing but x0 x2, or x1 is equal to square root of x0 x2. So this basically, if you take the logarithmic, of this, what we will get? Zeta omega n td. This is called as a logarithmic decrement. So same thing I have mentioned here. So this is for n cycle. Let me write first of all the single cycle. So the logarithmic decrement, let us suppose the first equation I'm taking. Can I take log of x0 by x1 is equal to zeta omega n td? Nothing I have done. I'm just taking the logarithmic. And this is called as a logarithmic decrement, because you know that the amplitude is decreasing exponentially. So if you want to calculate the logarithmic decrement value, which I am denoting with the delta, this is called as a logarithmic decrement, which is nothing but ln of x0 by x1 is equal to zeta omega n td. And you know that td is nothing but 2 pi by omega d. Yes or no? So zeta omega n 2 pi by omega d. What is omega d? Omega n square root of 1 minus zeta square. Yes or no? If you see here, I have clearly mentioned Td is 2 pi by omega d and omega d is this one. So if you write this 2 pi by omega d, you can write this one also. Right here. So zeta omega n 2 pi is omega n will be cancelled out. This is nothing but 1 minus zeta square. Okay, so this omega n will cancel out. So what you logarithmic decrement you got? The logarithmic decrement. So let me write here. One more relation you got. The logarithmic decrement is 2 pi zeta. What is this value? 2 pi zeta square root of 1 minus zeta square. Okay, that means if you know the zeta value, you can calculate the logarithmic decrement. How you will get the zeta value? You know that c by cc value, that means c by 2m omega n. So how you will calculate omega n? That means each and every topic is interrelated. That's why I have mentioned in that particular slide all the formula. Next thing is, if you want to calculate the logarithmic decrement in terms of nth cycle. So I have summarized this x0 by x1, x1 by x2. All these ratios are equal to this one. If you take the logarithmic value, so x0 by x1, again it will be equal. So can I write? This is nothing but zeta omega nt. So I have denoted with delta, which is nothing but the logarithmic decrement. So if I will add all these terms, can I write this is delta, this is delta, this is delta? So we will get as a n delta, which will be equal to ln x0 by xn. That means from the first term to the last term, which will be equal to n into delta n, because all are equal. So the delta value can be written as 1 by n ln of x0 by xn. And this logarithmic decrement, which I have discussed already, this is basically the formula. 2 pi zeta root of 1 minus zeta square. Okay. So I have mentioned here the variation of logarithmic decrement, the two important relation, 1 by n xn minus 1 to the xn. Okay. So if you put n is equal to 1, so this will become x0, this will become 1, and this is become 1. So ln of x0 by x1 is nothing but the logarithmic decrement only. Clearly you can see here. So the logarithmic decrement formula, which you got as 2 pi zeta square root of 1 minus zeta square. So for small damping, that means for small damping means zeta value is very, very small. That means this term, if you consider, the zeta value is very small, means this is approximately equal to 1. If this is approximately equal to 1, so the logarithmic decrement, you can also write 2 pi zeta. Again, I'm telling you, if it is mentioned, the zeta is very, very small, then you can go for the approximation. Otherwise, you know already the formula, you can easily solve. Okay. So now the thing is, I will discuss the question related to the damping and the how you will calculate the damping ratio, how you will get the logarithmic decrement, each and everything. Before that, I just want to write down all these formulas so that you can. So let me write down here. Till now, whatever I have discussed related to the damping, so I'm just summarizing the first formula which I have written. Value of zeta or omega n is equal to root of k by m. Second is how you will calculate the c value, the damping ratio. The damping ratio and c value is nothing but 2 square root of km. 2 square root of km. The third one I have mentioned, zeta is equal to c by cc. So this can also be written as c by 2m omega n. Fourth one I have discussed, when zeta is less than 1, that is the under damping case. What the amplitude you got? The amplitude value is x0 e to the power of minus zeta omega nt sine of omega d t plus 5. And how you will calculate the omega d? You know that omega d is nothing but square root of 1 minus zeta square omega n. And the seventh one is the time period of damped is 2 pi by omega d. The next one is logarithmic decrement I have discussed, which is 2 pi zeta 1 minus zeta square root of 1 minus zeta square. So each and every term, if you see, they are interrelated. Once you know the omega n, then you can calculate the omega d value. Once you know the zeta value, how you will calculate zeta value? Zeta value you can calculate by using this 2 c by 2 m omega n. Once you know the zeta and m omega n value, that means you know the omega d, you can calculate the time period of damped vibration. Once you know the zeta value also, you can calculate the logarithmic decrement. Okay, so let's try to solve the problem.
Sir,
So this is basically, yeah.
in this formulas, this x means what, sir? X denotes what, sir? Sir, I can't hear.
This one said here. This x is the displacement, no? Let us suppose this is the spring, this is the mass m. You are giving the displacement to the mass. When there is a damper also attached, this is the displacement equation you got. If you see the previous case, there is no damping concept. Yes or no? Zeta value is 0. If zeta is 0, can I write x is equal to x naught? This omega d is nothing but the damped vibration. So zeta value 0 means here it will become omega n. Omega t plus phi. So x is equal to a sine omega t plus phi is nothing but the natural vibration. Yes or no? What is this x? Displacement. If there is a damped vibration, that means there is a damper is installed. So you have to write down the damped field. X is here is nothing but the displacement. Displacement of block.
Got it, sir.
These are-
Displacement with respect to damping involvement or involvement of damper.
Please make a note of all these formulas before going to solve the problem, because I will give you the problem you have to solve. So these kind of problem they were asking, and you already have, I think, 1 week for the gate exam. Just revise these formula. Okay, just try to make the short notes for the formula, because if you don't know the formula, if you know the derivation and all, you can't derive these relation, because these are the big derivation. I'm not talking about the context of this theory of machine and the design part in the fluid mechanics also. So there are some important results you have to remember. So please make a note of this, then I will discuss the problem. Or you can take the screenshot also.
Yes, sir. Took the screenshot.
Okay. So can you please tell me, in this question, you have to calculate the natural frequency. You know that the the two springs which are attached with the mass m. So you have to calculate the natural frequency. The 4 options are given. Can you tell me what will be the answer? Only thing is you have to identify, if you are giving the initial displacement of mass m here, the spring force here is acting kx. Here also spring force will act as a kx. But because this mass is m is attached, okay, so these springs are connected in series or parallel. If you know if these are connected in series or parallel, your problem is solved. You know that for parallel combination and series combination, what will be the equivalent stiffness? Very simple, no? So these springs are connected in parallel. So K1 plus K2, the natural frequency, you know that the K equivalent divided by mass m. So what is this value? K1 plus K2 divided by m. That means the option D is the correct one. Okay, just to confuse you, they have given the block mass m in here. Suppose if I will make this one also, you can easily understood, no? This is the mass m. These are the two spring, which is attached. If you are giving the initial displacement, so the spring will also in the same displacement, and this spring also same displacement. Okay, I hope you've taken this screenshot now. For this question, you have to do little bit analysis. The thing is, again, I'm telling you, you have to just give the initial displacement, try to draw a diagram. That means whatever the forces are acting, then your problem will be solved. Try to attempt, otherwise I will explain.
Sir, can you tell me how to solve this type of questions? Because here, actually, I can't solve this type of questions in vibrations, sir. I tried, but
Just
these
read
are
the
highly.
question at least. Read the question, I will explain.
Yes, sir. We have a single degree of freedom system is there.
The only thing is, I'm just giving you one hint. Just apply the initial disturbance. Once you will give the initial disturbance to the mass m in the downward, so the rod will be inclined, no? If the rod is inclined, then you have to take the what will be the displacement of mass m as well as the spring. Okay.
Means I have to draw a free body diagram.
Yeah. Without free body diagram, how you will solve? Free body diagram, you can't solve the problem of theory of not theory of machine. You can't solve the engineering mechanics. You cannot solve the free body diagram means you have to apply the forces, no? Okay, now see, both of you, please see in the screen. Okay, try to learn the concept, how you will approach the problem. Did you got Jagan?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so can you please tell me what will be the answer? You
1 minute,
understand?
sir.
Okay, you are doing. Okay, I'm just giving 30 seconds more. Once you got, let me know, otherwise I will explain.
Option A.
Option A. Very good, Jagan. I hope you understood. See, whatever the previous problem which I have discussed now, in the similar manner you have to solve, but there is some like important concept where the student will do the mistake. Remaining this problem is a straightforward. Okay, so you have to give the initial displacement. You have to calculate the deformation of the spring in terms of the deformation of that mass. Okay, so let me explain this. So for example, this is the case given. So whenever there is a problem related to vibration, what you will do, you just give the initial disturbance. Now let us suppose if I'm giving the initial displacement this block, let us suppose I am just considering x1. So if this is x1, so what is this value? Can I say this is x2? Or I can say this is if there is a spring, so I can mention as a x. You can mention as a x2 also, there is no issue. So let us suppose this is the x and this will be the x1. Okay, so now I'm just drawing a free body diagram. So this is basically, you have given the initial displacement, let us suppose x1, and here you are getting the displacement is x, because the spring is attached. Okay, now this point is having a hinge joint at the point O. This distance is already given a, this is a, so can I write the total distance is 2a? Not an issue. Okay, so the initial disturbance means the mg force is acting here, so I can calculate the mg force, the torque about this point to get this x value. What will be the displacement? So let us suppose this is the spring force. If you are giving the initial displacement in the downward, so the spring will elongate, so spring force will act in upward direction. Yes. So the spring force into A, can I write mg into 2a? Yes. No, not an issue. So I got the spring force is nothing but 2 mg, and the spring force, you know that k x. So this x value is nothing but 2 mg divided by k. 2 mg divided by k. Okay. So this is a massless rigid rod. The natural frequency of vibration of the system you have to calculate. You got this x value is 2 mg by k. If you use the property of triangle, can you calculate this x1 value? Same problem I have discussed. So x1 value, can I write directly x1 is equal to 2 times of x1? Any problem? Can I write x1 is equal to 2x?
Yes, sir.
You didn't? Okay. What about Raj? Did you understood? Just use the property of triangle.
So I have to use this properties of triangles, and then I have to take moments here.
No, moment is fine. I'm asking, can I write this x1 is equal to 2x? Did you understood or should I elaborate?
Sir, I understood about this x1 equal to x. Sir, here the x is the half of the x1, sir.
X is the half
No,
of
no, sir.
x1. But
I
I want
understood,
to
sir.
calculate the x1 value. Okay. Okay. If you want, just take the tan theta value. No? This is theta for this triangle also. For this triangle also, theta is constant. So tan theta is perpendicular by base. That x by a is equal to x1 by 2a. Okay. So x1 can be written as 2 into x. So if you know the x1 is equal to 2x, so what is the x1 value? 4 mg by k. 4 mg by k. I have told you the natural frequency is either you can write in terms of k by m, but there is a static deflection of this mass. It can also be written as g by delta. And what is this delta? Delta means always corresponding to this displacement. So g value is nothing but acceleration due to gravity, and this delta is nothing but, that means the deflection at this end, which I am denoting with x1, which is 4 mg by k. 4 mg by k. So what value we will get? K by 4m. K by 4m. Okay, so you got the natural frequency is root of k by 4m, but they are asking the omega n, they are asking in terms of hertz. That means the frequency. So the frequency value you already know, that is nothing but, because time period is 2 pi by omega. So omega is equal to 2 pi by t. 2 pi by t means 1 by t will become frequency. So frequency is nothing but 2 pi by, frequency is nothing but, can I write the frequency is 1 by 2 pi, 1 by 2 pi into omega. And what is this omega value? K by 4l. So what is the answer? A is the correct answer. So in this type of problem, always try to give the initial displacement and try to use the formula. You will get the answer. Okay. So now,
Excuse me, sir.
yeah, tell me.
Sir, in this type of question only, sir, instead of a massless rigid body, if they give mass, then what I have to add mass of this circle and rod.
If there is a mass is given, if the mass is given, you have to take the moment. That means, let us suppose the mass of rod is given. You have to take the moment about this point. So mg will also come. So in that case, you have to use the torque method. Okay. That means the net torque will be equal to I into alpha. For example, if mass is given, so first of all, you will get the net torque is equal to I alpha. So what is the moment of inertia about the hinge joint? Because you know that about the center will be ml square by 2, 12. What about this hinge joint? ml square by 12 plus m into L by 2 whole square. This is by using the perpendicular axis theorem, or sorry, parallel axis theorem. I hope you know these things in engineering mechanics also, or in basic. This is from 12th class also. There are the two methods. In the first one will be the parallel axis or perpendicular axis. So you can calculate the moment of inertia. That means you have to remember the moment of inertia about the center, that is ml square by 12, and the hinge joint will be ml square by 3. Then you just calculate the net torque is equal to I alpha, you will get the answer. So in that case, you will get the equation in terms of theta W. So again, you will get the equation for the natural frequency.
Sir, there is
Break.
another thing is there also called equivalent mass. Means I have to add mass of this rod as well as the addition of some or sum of the given masses.
There are some standard result. If there is a mass rod is given, you can just write down, just 1 second. You can write as a x by 3. If the spring, let us suppose the spring is given and this is the rod is given, then you can stiffness, you will divide x by 3. I will suggest you just follow the basic method. Net torque is equal to I into alpha. Okay. So if there is a standard result, that means there is a certain assumption they have taken. Understood? So don't
Okay, sir.
blindly trust on the final result. These are the final result, that is fine. Because if I will change the position, no, if I will change the position here, this distance is a by 2 and this is 3, let us suppose 3a by 2 or 3a by 2, then your answer will be changed. Try to use the same method, net torque equal to I into alpha, and you know whatever the formula which I have given to you. You just remember, you will get the answer. Got it? Not in this one, in every problem, in every subject, you only have to focus on the standard result with assumption. Okay, for example, if I will take the Lemme's theorem also, you know these three forces should be concurrent. You can't use directly those relations. Okay, so please tell me for this question. This question is based on the damping ratio. Okay, so I will give you only 1 minute for solving, because if you know the formula, you can easily solve. This question was asked in the GATE 2014. What is the damping ratio? Damping ratio means zeta. He wants to know what is the value of zeta you have to calculate. Mass is given, stiffness is given, and the damping coefficient is also given. Do it fast. I hope you have taken the screenshot of that slide. If you have the answer, so please comment in the chat box. What will be the damping ratio? Anyone got the answer?
Sir, in the damping question, T question, which is damping equation we have discussed it recently, sir. In that we have two equations, C by CC, sir. CC, sir. So what is C and what is CC, sir?
C is the damping constant and the CC is nothing but critically damped constant. Okay, so but in this question, if you see, you have to calculate the damping ratio, zeta value. What is the zeta relation? I have discussed,
C
no, this
by CC,
problem is
sir.
C by CC, that is fine.
1.25.
1.25. Very good, Jagan. 1.25 is the correct. In this question, nothing is there. You have, if you remember the relation, you can easily solve the problem. So C by CC means, you know that this formula, 2 square root of Km. Zeta value you have to calculate. C value is given. What is the C value? Viscous damping coefficient is 5. Okay. Now, this is nothing but 2 square root of Km. This is 100. Okay. So what is this value? 5 divided by 20. Let me check. 2 square root of Km. Sorry, this actually there is a mistake. Here should be 25. There is a correction. If the 5 is given, then you will get as a 5 divided by 20. That means nothing but 0.25. But there should be a 25. There is a mistake here. So zeta is equal to 25 divided by 20, which is nothing but 1.25. 1.25. So the damping constant coefficient is given, which is nothing but 25. And the mass is given as a 1. And the stiffness is also given as a 100. 5 divided by 20, which is nothing but 1.25. Okay. Now the next question, can you please tell me what will be the correct answer? On a spring mass damper system, okay, I will give you one hint. The amplitude decays to half of the original value in 2 complete cycles. Read the question carefully. The amplitude is decaying in half of the value in 2 complete cycles. That means he is talking about, either you can consider x naught is the first amplitude, so x naught by x3, or you can consider x1 by x3. x1 by x3 is nothing but equal to 2. For example, this is the initial amplitude. Now after the 2 complete cycle, that means x1 to x2, x2 to x3 will become half. So x3 will become half of original 1. So x1 will cancel out. So x1 by x3 is given as 2. Okay, I have given you the hint. Now you can tell me what is the value of percentage of critical damping. Percentage of critical damping. That means you have to calculate the value of zeta in terms of percentage. Try to attempt. You know already the relation of logarithmic decrement, yes or no? 2 pi zeta 1 minus zeta square. For the logarithmic decrement, they have given one relation. What is the relation? x1 by x3 is equal to 2. x1 by x3 is equal to, you know that what is the ratio of x1 by x2? Very simple, x1 by x2 is, x1 by x2 is e to the power of zeta omega and td. Or I can write e to the power of logarithmic decrement. Okay. So if you take this logarithmic value of this x1 by x2, you will get delta. This is the thing which I have discussed now. So x1 by x2 is e to the power of delta. Okay. But x1 by x3, can I write x1 by x2 is nothing but into x2 by x3 is equal to e to the power of delta into e to the power of delta is e to the power of 2 delta. Yes or no? Because for 2 complete cycle I am taking, so that's why I am using, just because this value is e to the power of lambda. Suppose if I want to write down x1 by x3, x1 by x3 is, can be written as x1 by x2 into x2 by x3, which is equal to e to the power of 2 delta, and this value is given as. So from here you can easily calculate delta, yes or no? Once you know the delta value, you can calculate the zeta. But the thing is, you have to mention the zeta value in percentage. Do it fast and tell me what answer you are getting. Anyone got the value? So e to the power of 2 lambda is equal to 2. E to the power of 2 lambda is equal to 2. So can I write 2 lambda is equal to ln of 2? So from here lambda value you will get as 0.3365. So once you know the lambda value, can you calculate zeta? Yes or no? So if you solve, then you will get zeta value approximately 5.5%, and that will be the answer. Okay. So that means the choice C will be the correct one. So by using the condition x1 by x3, which you got as a 2 e to the power of 2 lambda is equal to 2. So from here you have calculated delta value. So then you can calculate the zeta, then that you have to calculate 5.5%. Okay. So can you solve this problem? The damping ratio you have to calculate. What is the damping ratio? Again, zeta. Instead of giving the k and m value, they have given the successive value of amplitude. Means, for example, x naught value you can consider 0.69, or if you are considering x1 value as a 0.69, x2, x3, x4, but you know that what is the relation? Zeta value you have to calculate. What is the logarithmic decrement ln of x naught by x1? Calculate that one, equal to 2 pi zeta 1 minus zeta square. Do it fast. More minute I'm giving you. Can you please tell me what is the damping ratio? You know that x naught and x1 value, take the logarithmic value, you will get the delta. And delta is equal to 2 pi zeta square root of 1 minus zeta square. From there, you can calculate the zeta that you have to find. What is the question? 0.69, 0.32, and 0.19 and 0.009 is basically the amplitude of vibration is given. Okay, so what you have to calculate? The zeta value. How you will calculate? You know the logarithmic decrement. The logarithmic decrement is nothing but delta value. Can I write? ln 0.69 divided by 0.32. Once you will solve, you will get 0.6768, which is equal to, you know the formula, 2 pi zeta 1 minus zeta square. Okay, so from here, if you solve, you will get the zeta value 0.121. Very simple. That means you have to remember this particular formula, which I have summarized in that particular slide. So 2 pi zeta square root of 1 minus zeta square, then you will get the zeta value. So similar type of question, they have given the mass and this. So I don't want to discuss this. Okay, but this question, can you try? Consider a vibrating system with a mass 7 kg, stiffness, and a damper of damping coefficient is given. C is given. You have to calculate the logarithmic decrement. For logarithmic decrement, you know the formula, but for that, you have to calculate the zeta. Yes or no? How you will calculate the zeta? For calculating the zeta, they have given the parameter. And this is the gate problem only. Do it first. We will solve this problem. You have to calculate first zeta value. You know that zeta is nothing but C by 2m omega n. C value is nothing but, what is the damping constant coefficient, which is given as 0.36. 2 into m. What is the m value? 7 kg. And omega n, you already know, k by m. What is the square? The k value? K value is 50 Newton per centimeter. Okay, so that means in meter, it will become, centimeter means 10 to the power of minus 2, it will come here. So 50 into 100 divided by, what is the mass? Mass is given as 7 kg. So this is nothing but omega n 26.72 you will get the natural frequency. So if you put the natural frequency here, you will get 26.72. That means the zeta value is 0.0962. Once you know the zeta value, how you will calculate the logarithmic decrement? 2 pi zeta square root of 1 minus zeta square. So 2 into pi, zeta value is 0.0962. square root of this, solve, you will get the answer. Can you please tell me what answer you are getting? If you solve, then you will get 0.604. Okay, so the logarithmic
Yes, sir.
decrement